Hello, everyone. This is Jasmine, aka Gladiatorinsweats, and I'm here with the daily tarot message for July the 24th, 2018. And it's Tuesday, so happy Tuesday to everyone. And I sincerely hope everyone's doing all right. I know that, or at least for me, it's been like touch and go. Like, I'll feel amazing, and then like I'll get triggered, and I am aware of the triggers, and so I think maybe that's really the biggest difference. It's not necessarily that. I mean, life is easier when you become more aware, but it's just it's still triggers, and it's still kind of hard to deal with like in the moment and to remain balanced. And I kind of feel like that's really the test for us all is remaining in our integrity, and not necessarily as a way to punish us, but really for us to practice what we've been learning and what we've been shown this whole past year. Just getting into it, today's galactic signature is the blue spectral hand. And not only that, but today is the last day of the 13 moon calendar year. And so with today being, essentially the culmination of everything that we've learned and all of that we've experienced in this past year. And not just that, but this also very much links up with, our Western calendar and our Western astrology with, this eclipse and full moon that we have in a couple days as well. So just to get into it a little bit, talking about the blue spectral hand and the feeling that I get with this energy of a dissolving. There's this dissolving of past memories, of past trauma, past splintered timelines, if you will, of really coming back to zero point, coming back to this wholeness. I've mentioned in the past like soul retrieval, and that's something you can look into if you're into shamanism or just into any of that sort of work. But I feel like, again, this is really about us not necessarily just having flashbacks, but we're able to approach and go through these memories or go through these experiences from a higher place of knowing. And this is what I've been talking about in the weekly, but with today being kind of like not just the end of the calendar week, as I said, but it's the end of the calendar year, with tomorrow being the day out of time. And I'll be talking a lot about that tomorrow. So I won't go in depth with that today. But just overall, there's this release. There's this highly Neptunian vibe, I feel. This like hanged man energy of freedom through sacrifice, or through and I guess sacrifice kind of has a negative connotation, but through release of anything, release of pent up emotions, release of external stimuli, or just like people or places or things that no longer resonate with you, energies that no longer serve, so like disserving energies, just release of all that doesn't vibe with us anymore on like a basic level of, well, maybe eating fast food doesn't resonate with me anymore and I want to be more healthful, or going to, all the way into something very spiritual of really releasing mindsets and constructs that you don't really jive with anymore. Ultimately, for this in a collective view, there is this grand freedom from this like 3D matrix consciousness, which I've been talking about. And just in layman's terms, it's just the way that we have been socialized and essentially programmed to behave and to believe and to see the world. Moving from this and ascending to higher consciousness, but not just a higher consciousness, but it's a consciousness that we've already been gravitating to. And you can see this tangibly just in our own pop culture, at least in America, because that's what I will speak of. But, with the more overt acceptance of people that are different from you. And it seems to be like splitting and creating a greater and greater divide. And I feel like that's essentially what's happening here, is that there's kind of this separation, and it's not like a separation as a like, oh, these people are like below me, but it's like a separation, I feel, where people that have like gone through this soul work and they've learned what their soul wanted them or needed them to learn in this moment or in this cycle, now they're ready to be ushered onto this next path or this next experience. And for those that haven't, they're just having to work through it a little bit more. And I feel this is heavily about just love and compassion, forgiveness, appreciation of the all. That's really what this is about. I'll talk more about this tomorrow, like I said, with the day of time, where just to go over it briefly, I guess, the day of time in the 13 moon calendar, it's not an actual day in the calendar. There's only 364 days in the 13 moon calendar. And so since this day, it exists in the Gregorian calendar, it serves as an opportunity to celebrate the future and celebrate what we wish to create and what we wish the future to be. So creating a life where time is not money, but time is art, time is love, time is celebration. And so again, like I said, I'll talk more about that later. But let me see, is there any other things? Oh yeah, so let's talk about the cards. So here in the center, we do have this Nine of Cups. This Nine of Cups here feels our focus on our emotional fulfillment or wish fulfillment or lack thereof, of us wanting to be emotionally fulfilled to the highest level, the highest extent. This 9 is also kind of like a completion card as well. Technically 10 would be the completion, but 9's like that. It's like the end. It's like the end where the 10 is kind of like the beginning and end. It's got the 10 is essentially like a 0 to me. And so I see the 9 as us being at this cycle of completion, which again resonates with this being this completion, not only with our full moon, but also with the 13 moon calendar. There's this focus I feel from the root chakra, because I'm looking at the red here, like the red nose of the character, but also his red hat and just like his red and orange, like sacral chakra kind of energy with the colors there. And so I feel, again, there's this clearing, balancing of the root of the sacral chakra energies of our own security, and creating our own sense of security, rather, where it's not having to be based upon or having to be determined by what's going on externally. And that's what I feel, where we're going within and finding our own happiness and our own source of our own source of connection and source of knowing that everything is working out. Embracing this emotional energy from a place of maturity. With this King of Cups, it reminds me of like Sun in Cancer. Even though we have just gone into Leo season, we've just left Cancer season. I don't believe there's any more planets in Cancer. And so I feel this as like a mature Cancer energy, a mature emotional stance where you're able to not only perceive your emotions a little bit more, where you're embracing them, but maybe also sharing them. You're also maybe expressing how you feel. And I also feel this with this Knight of Swords at the top as well. There's this uncertainty about the future, I feel, with this Fool card here to the left, though. This Fool card here, not just that, but we also have this Two of Swords underneath. And so it's kind of pointing at the King of Cups and the Fool card, where there's this uncertainty about the future, where maybe our feelings are pulling us in different directions. Feeling like there's a choice that has to be made, but externally, I feel like it seems like very mixed, where maybe you're not just unsure of either way that they could go. And so this all has to be done intuitively. This all has to be done through your feelings, through your heart, through how you ultimately feel. I mean, we've been talking about this for, I want to say, at least the past month or so. I know as Venus was in Leo especially, where we're having to honor our feelings. We're really having to honor what it is that our heart is telling us and showing us. And what it's showing us isn't always pretty. I don't want to say good or bad, because that's always subjective. But it's like what we feel or what we are seeing now is not always pretty or something that we want to see, but it's something that we need to see. I ultimately feel that it's nothing that we didn't already know. The things that we may be shown, or not things that we didn't know, but things that we may have not already picked up on, or that our intuition was already trying to show us in the past, and we just maybe ignored it or weren't in a place to see it to the fullest extent that we are now. Especially with this Knight of Swords, though, I feel like there's this energy of really saying how we feel, and it could be maybe done with little thoughts sometimes, where I feel people are just at their wits' end, where this Mars energy, this energy of really just being like, no, I've had it. That's kind of what I feel here, is like, especially when this card comes up and the way it's got like this red on the sword. And as I've been talking about this root chakra energy, I feel like there's this really cutting to the root, getting to the root and cutting it there, nipping it in the bud with the truest meaning of really getting to the root of it. However this may appear in your life. Even with this feeling of this root, it makes me even think of family. So this could be familial issues or concerns, or patterns, like family patterns that are needing to be addressed. And not just addressed, but it's like actions are going to be needed to be taken. But again, like, this all just goes along with this dissolving of the past, this healing of the past through release, the spiritual liberation energy. And yeah, I kind of think that's it for today. Yeah, I think that's mostly what I wanted to mention. Oh, and then there's just a few like important aspects, which I kind of already talked about with this Venus opposite Neptune, where we're really having to see what needs to be changed and what really needs to be addressed in our relationships and addressed in our bonds with other people, and what just needs to be cleared up and what needs to be harmonized, what needs to be balanced. But also with the sun trining Chiron officially closer towards the end of the night, but it will also usher in this day out of time also, where there's this healing of our deepest internal wounds, of our identity, and not just our identity, but of our ego, the things that bruise our pride, the things that bruise our sense of self. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I'm always appreciative of like the comments and just the love that I receive. It really does make me happy to be able to do this and just to get to share my energy with you guys. So without further ado, I guess that is it. Do have some new material coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's daily message, since I'm really wanting to memorialize and really celebrate this day at a time. So it's not going to technically be a daily tarot message, but I am going to give a message tomorrow. And as I said, kind of discuss the day at a time, its history, like what it means, and its importance that I honestly feel that it has, especially in the world now, especially with the environmental concerns that we have now. There's just a lot. It's not too much that I want to talk about, but there's some stuff I want to talk about. So I'll discuss that, as well as Mercury retrograde. That's going down tomorrow as well. So there's just a bunch going on this week, honestly. There's just a lot of energy shifts going on, and not just that, but I mean, it's already been said all around. This energy is grand. I don't even know that I have been able to properly discuss how important these energies are, but I'm doing my best. So do look forward to the full moon and eclipse video. I'm hoping to actually have that out on the 26th, so that Friday I'm free, but that you're also free to kind of spend it doing whatever you feel that you intuitively want to do. I feel Friday is definitely an intuitively led day. So yeah, that is it. So feel free to follow me on Instagram for more daily or frequent content. Check out any of the past daily messages as well as the weekly. There won't be a weekly coming up until a couple of days. I'm going to actually start with the 13 moon cycle, and so I'm going to start on Thursday. So, or no, not Thursday. Starting on technically, yes, yeah, it is technically Thursday. So, all right. I hope you guys have a great day. I send you all my love, and I wish you many blessings today. And yeah, just and I actually had someone ask me about like what to do or how to best like ride these waves. And I think just kind of what I've already been mentioning about kind of just surrendering to the process. I feel trying to avoid the triggers or trying to resist the triggers is also just resistance. And I really honestly feel like right now we kind of just need to be honest with ourselves and our feelings, and what people may consider mistakes or like, oh, that was a bad thing or whatever. I think these moments especially are meant for us to help look at, so that we're able to spend time being self-aware. I think not just this week, but really it's about moving to an energy of self-awareness and moving out of an energy of focusing on the external to be like a ruler for what's going on within. Or no, that's actually what I meant to say, was using the outside as a ruler for what's going on the inside, as opposed to like vice versa, where just to use an example, where instead of viewing, an interaction or negative interaction with someone that we care about as, oh, okay, they hurt me, or this argument happened, and now, like, or just viewing it from the very, like, usual place where we're hurt and maybe wanting to remain in a place of remaining hurt because we want to just hold on to this feeling of being right, or hold on to this feeling of like all of these kind of like games that we consciously and unconsciously play with each other, and just being more honest about how we feel. I really honestly feel a lot of our interactions have to do with the lack of communication and also the lack of integrity with what we're saying. And this is a message that's heavily pushed in like our media all the time, especially in our music. I mean, I see it all the time with like this need to like hold a facade, or this need to like, well, I gotta show that I'm over it if I'm really not, or like just all of these different kinds of games, or even the games in dating where people feel like there's games that have to be played when you're dating people. Like, it's just, the games of manipulation are just over. I just feel like, not necessarily like, oh, it's done from this day, but like the days of being able to get over on people like that are going to be over, because people are going to be aware. Where maybe people that have always kind of been aware or been able to like just tap into the emotions of others naturally or whatever, and maybe those people were able to use that to manipulate and use that for their self-gain, that's not gonna fly anymore. And that's why it's like, even when people are trying to use it, and even when it comes to dating, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it on a grand like business scale, or whether you're doing it on your own social, your own universal scale, where, you know, it's your own world, your own universe. Like, you know, how you treat people is how, not how they treat you, but it's all about this balance. It's all about give and take. And that's kind of like the message that I am ultimately trying to support and like endorse, where it's really, we have to move out of this like us versus them, or just move out of this separateness, move out of this like idea that there's this me and there's the outside of everything else going on, or that the world is happening to me. Everything's connected, everyone is connected. It's just, I don't know, it's a lot. So this actually was not supposed to keep going, but let me end it here, because we're actually going a little bit long. So again, I hope you guys have a great day, and I send you my love once again, and until next time.